and welcome back to my channel Learn with Nikhil. So in our previous lecture, that was part 3 Introduction to Robotics, we had studied about the degree of freedom. We have understand it for the different robots. In this lecture, we are going to study about the degree of freedom of a system and some numerical examples on it to make it much clear. So let's begin. So degree of freedom of a system is defined as the minimum number of independent parameters, variables, coordinates needed to describe a system completely. So for a robotics system, it is really important to find the degree of freedom. Now to moving forward and to explain this much in detail, I have some examples here to show you. If there is a point in two-dimensional, it has 2 degrees of freedom. So let's see. So here you have a point, you have a coordinates, you have x coordinate, y coordinate, and there is a point, and this is in two-dimensional. So as you can see, the point is moving in y direction, in x direction, and it moves in this two-dimensional plane. So the point moving in this two-dimensional plane, that is x and y, so it has 2 degrees of freedom. So a point in two-dimensional has 2 degrees of freedom. Similarly, if you have a point in three-dimensional, so here you have a point, it has x coordinate, it has y coordinate, and it has a z coordinate, and this point is in three-dimensional and it has 3 degrees of freedom. So let's see. So how the 3 degrees of freedom? So it can move in x direction, it can move in y direction, and it can also move in z direction, that is up and down. So these are the 3 degrees of freedom in a three-dimensional plane. So in a three-dimensional place, a point in 3D, it has 3 degrees of freedom, that is x, y, and z movement. Now next, so here we'll consider a rigid body in 3-dimensional which has 6 degrees of freedom. So here you have considered a rectangular box which is placed in this 3-dimensional. It has x coordinate, it has y coordinate, it has z coordinate, and this is the rectangular box which is placed in this 3D. Now how you get 6 degrees of freedom? So this box moves in y direction, that is 1, x direction, that is second, it moves up and down, so this will be 3 positions. Now there is 3 orientations. This rotates in this angle both ways, that is considered as one rotation. It rotates in this direction, that is considered as second rotation. This moves in this direction, both the directions, that is considered as third rotation. I'll explain again. It has 3 positions. This is position 1, this is position 2, this is position 3. So 3 positions and 3 rotations or orientations. So it moves in this plane, both ways it's considered as one orientation or rotation. This moves like this is second orientation or rotation, and this is third orientation or rotation. So it has 3 position and it has 3 orientation, total 6 degrees of freedom. So this is how a rigid body in 3-dimensional has 6 degrees of freedom. Now in a spatial manipulator, so same, a spatial manipulator is nothing but a robot, a robotic arm you can say. So for a spatial manipulator or a 3-dimensional manipulator, now if I have to move or pick and place this 3D object in a 3-dimensional plane, so will require 6 degrees of freedom of a gripper. So if I consider a robot, or if I have to consider a gripper of a robot, that is the end effector of a robot, and if I have to catch this and move this in 3-dimensional, so for the gripper also, or a spatial manipulator will require 6 degrees of freedom. Same way, for a planar manipulator, you will require 3 degrees of freedom. So as you can see, this is a point in a 3-dimensional. Now to move this in this 3-dimensional, a point, the gripper also you'll require it is at 3 degrees of freedom. So hope so this part is clear. Now moving forward, what is a redundant manipulator and what is a under actuated manipulator? Now for redundant manipulator, as you know, a spatial manipulator, just we studied in the previous, in a spatial manipulator we require 6 degrees of freedom, and in a planar manipulator we require 3 degrees of freedom. Now what is a redundant manipulator? Either a spatial manipulator with more than 6 degrees of freedom, or a planar manipulator with more than 3 degrees of freedom. So if I have a robot which has a degree of freedom for a spatial manipulator more than 6, then that is an extra degrees of freedom. If I have a robot with 8 degrees of freedom in a 3D, that is in spatial manipulator, then it has an excess degrees of freedom which is considered as redundant. Same in a planar manipulator, you have seen it requires maximum of 3 degrees of freedom. But if in a planar manipulator a robot has more than 3 degrees of freedom, consider 5 degrees of freedom, so 2 degrees of freedom are extra. So that is considered as a redundant manipulator. So there is no need in a 3-dimensional greater than 6 degrees of freedom to perform any operation. Maximum 6 is fine for 3D, that is spatial manipulator, and for a point in planar manipulator 3 degrees of freedom are more than enough. But if it has more than this two, then that is considered as redundant manipulator. Now opposite of redundant is under actuated manipulator. Now what is under actuated manipulator? Either a spatial manipulator with less than 6 degrees of freedom, or a planar manipulator with less than 3 degrees of freedom. So maximum, you know, for a spatial manipulator we require 6 degrees of freedom, and for a planar we require 3 degrees of freedom. But if a robot in a spatial manipulator which has 3 positions and 3 orientation, if it has considered 5 degrees of freedom, so it is less than the actual required, so it is under actuated manipulator. And in a planar manipulator, if it has less than 3 degrees of freedom, so again it is under actuated. So less degrees of freedom rather than the standard one, it is under actuated, and if it has more than the standard value, it is redundant manipulator. Now according to this, now as we have understood how much important is to find the degree of freedom or mobility of a robot, so we need to find or calculate the degree of freedom of a robot. Now to calculate the degree of freedom of a robot, you have an equation, so I'll explain you. So let's consider a manipulator with n rigid moving links and m joints. So you have n rigid moving links, you consider n as links and m as joints. So for in a robot, you know, you have joints and links, and you have to find the degree of freedom. So how you can calculate knowing the links and joints? Ci is considered as connectivity of the ith joint, that is 6 minus Ci. Now how or why I have considered 6? As you know, it is a spatial manipulator. So for that reason we are considering 6. So maximum, as you know, it has 6 degrees of freedom. So Ci is considered as connectivity of the ith joint, that will be 6 minus Ci. Total number of constraints for the joints will be summation of I is equal to 1 to m 6 minus Ci. So how many connectivities are there? Using that we will find out the total number of constraints. Now the mobility of a manipulator or the degree of manipulator, to find out the formula will be 6 into n. Now n, as you know, it is the rigid moving links, and 6 is considered because it is a spatial manipulator. So if you have 2 links, it will be 6 multiplied by 2 according to that. So 6n minus the equation of the constraint, that is summation of I is equal to 1 to m 6 minus Ci, and this is called as the famous Grubler's criterion. I'll explain this equation much in detail when we take the example to solve it. Same equation. Now as we have seen the degree of freedom of a spatial manipulator, here you will calculate the mobility or the DOF of the planar manipulator. Now with same equation, you can see just instead of 6 you have 3, as in a planar manipulator the maximum number of degree of freedom is 3. In spatial manipulator the maximum number of degree of freedom is 6. So here the formula just changes to 3 minus Ci. So everywhere 6 is replaced by 3. So here also we have considered a manipulator with n links and m joints. Connectivity of the ith joint will be 3 minus Ci. Then we will calculate the total number of constraints, that will be summation of I is equal to 1 to m 3 minus Ci, and finally the mobility of the manipulator or the DOF calculation will be 3 minus n minus equation summation of I is equal to 1 to m 3 minus Ci, and it is also known as Grubler's criterion. Now I'll explain this equation with an example which will clear your concepts in much. So here I have considered a numerical example 1. For a serial planar manipulator, this is a robot, this is a serial planar manipulator robot. If you see at this robot structure, its base is fixed. At the base it has one revolute joint, that is R joint. Then again it has second revolute joint. Then it has a prismatic joint, and at the last again it has a revolute joint, and through the revolute joint an end effector or a gripper is attached. So total you have 4 joints, and if you see at the links, this will be link 1, link 2, link 3 and link 4. So you have 4 links and 4 joints. So according to the solution, we have to find out the degrees of freedom of this robot. So for that, first we will find out the links and joints. Number of links is denoted by n, that is 4. Number of joints is denoted by m, that is also 4. We have calculated right now. Next step, we have to find the connectivity. Now connectivity of this revolute joint or the prismatic joint is 1. If I had one more joint from here, it is not possible here, but if I had one more joint from here attached, then it would have been 2 connectivity. But here you can see this is the input and the output link. For each joint there is connectivity of just 1. So C1 plus C2 plus C3 plus C4 is 1. So connectivity is denoted by Ci. So for this 4 connectivities, that is C1, C2, C3 and C4, all the answer is 1. So connectivity for all these 4 joints is 1. Now next we'll find out the total number of constraints using this connectivity. So as per the formula, summation of I is equal to 1 to m 3 minus Ci. Now I here is 1. So if I substitute this C1, C2, C3 and C4, for all these 4 it is 1. So this Ci is 1. So 3 minus 1 is 2. Now we get in this bracket the answer as 2. Now if I do this equation and solve this equation from I is equal to 1 to m. So as you know, for each connectivity the constraint is 2. So here it is 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. Total gives me 8. And even if I solve this, the answer will be 8. So total number of constraints is 8. So finally finding the mobility or the degree of freedom, that will be m is equal to 3n. n is 4. So 3 into 4 minus, we have calculated this as 8. So finally 3 minus 4, 3 multiplied by 4 minus 8, the answer will be 4. So as we have got the degree of freedom or the mobility of this robot as 4. Now in a planar manipulator, as we have seen earlier, the maximum degree of freedom should be 3, but this is more than 3. So can you tell me, is this a redundant manipulator or a under actuated manipulator? Right? As the degree of freedom is more than the standard degree of freedom, that is 3, this is the redundant type of a robot or a redundant type of a manipulator. Hope this makes clear with the Grubler's criterion. I'll take one more example. Now moving towards the numerical example 2. Here we are considering a parallel planar manipulator. This is the image of a robot of a parallel planar manipulator. Previous was the serial one. This is the parallel robot. Now considering this, I'll explain you first. This is a fixed base. This is the base attached. Then you have this different links. These are the links. And these are the joints. Now we have to calculate the degree of freedom of this parallel planar manipulator. So you have to find the DOF or the mobility of this. For finding this solution, first you have to find the number of links. Number of links are denoted by n. Now there are 7 links. How the 7 links came? So here you can see this is the fixed base. Then you have this link. This is link 1. This is link 2. So on this line you have 2 links. On this line you have again 2 links. This is 1 link, 2 link. Then on this line again you have 2 links. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So total of 6 links here. And one more link. This end effector is also considered as a link. So this is one more link, that is n is equal to 7. So there are total number of 7 links. Number of joints, m is equal to 9. Number of joints is denoted by m. So here you can see you have joint 1, 2, 3. This is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So on this links, you have on one link you have 3. So 3 plus 3 plus 3, that is total of 9 joints. Moving forward to find the connectivity, again as this is a revolute and the prismatic joint, and for this revolute and prismatic joint you know it has connectivity as 1. This is input link, output link, and it has one connectivity. So connectivity from C1 to C9, that is given as 1. So each has connectivity of 1. Now finding the total number of constraints here again, Ci given is 1. So this will be 3 minus 2. So calculating this 3 minus 2, and if I put in this equation, m is 9, and calculating this equation, this is 2. So for each joint you have 2 number of constraints. So calculating that and putting in the formula of mobility and degree of freedom, m is equal to 3n minus total number of constraints, 3, n given is 7. So the equation will be 3 into 7 minus 18. Now how this 18 came? As I earlier told you, 3 minus 1 gives us 2. So for each and every joint, here you can see it is 2, 2, 2, then 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. So total it has 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 on one link. So 6, 6 and 6. So total of 18. So you get 18 number of constraints. And finally the answer gives us 3. So in a parallel planar manipulator, this is 3. And as you know, in a planar manipulator, the maximum number of DOF is 3, and you have got the solution as 3. So this is the perfect robot, and it is a perfect manipulator. It is neither redundant nor under actuated. It is perfect, that is 3. Next numerical example, this will be our last numerical example for parallel planar manipulator. So this is the image of a platform or a table. So here you can see this has a fixed base, then it has 6 total lines or the joints here, and then this plate, this is the upper table, upper part, which is again a link. So it is fixed. So this is a link and these are attached. So it's like a stool or a table with 6 sides. Now you have to calculate the degree of freedom of this table. So first we will find out the number of links. So number of links is denoted by n, which is 13. Now how came the 13? So as you can see, this is 1 link, this is 2 link. Okay, so it has total 6 sides and each side has 2 links. So 6 into 2 will be 12, and this is the end effector, that is also considered as a link. So 12 plus 1 will be 13. I'll repeat again, it has total 6 sides or the 6 lines. Each line has 2 links, so 6 2s are 12, and this end effector is also considered as a link, that will be plus 1, so total 13. So it has number of links n is equal to 13. Next, number of joints denoted as m is 18. So each line has this 3 joints, 1, 2 and 3. This is the universal joint, this is the prismatic joint, this is the spherical joint. So each line has 3 joints. Total you have 6 lines. So 6 into 3 will give us 18. So total number of joints are 18. Now calculate the total number of constraints. Now to find the total number of constraints, now here you have different types of joints, you will have different types of constraints. Now for the universal joint, this is the universal joint, it has 2 degrees of freedom. So universal joint has 2 degrees of freedom. Now to find the constraint, that will be 6 minus 2 degrees of freedom. So it has 4 constraints. So here it will be 4 for universal joint. Now as you know, for the prismatic joint you have 1 degrees of freedom connectivity is 1. So 6 minus 1 will be 5. So it has 5 constraints. So spherical joint has 3 degrees of freedom. So 6 minus 3 is equal to 3. So it will have 3 constraints. So in one line it is 4 plus 5 plus 3, that gives us 12 constraints in one line, and total we have 6 lines. So 12 into 6, that will give us 72. So total number of constraints in this whole will be 72. Now moving forward to find the degree of freedom or the mobility, the formula is mobility is equal to 6n minus the total number of constraints. So 6 multiplied by n is 13 minus 72 gives us 6 degrees of freedom. So 6 degrees of freedom for a parallel planar manipulator is a perfect manipulator, and this table is popularly known as Stewart's table, which is used in aircrafts. So 6 degrees of freedom, it might have 3 rotary, 3 position joints, it can be anything. So this is popularly known as Stewart joint. Thank you for watching. Do subscribe to my channel. If you have any doubts, any queries, let me know in the comment section.